When talking about Asian American musicians, people always associate them with classical music, piano, Chopin, Yo-Yo Ma, or Lang Lang. But there are also a lot of Asian American artists out there who are making pop music. However, Asian Americans are still very underrepresented in the American pop music scene.
The number one reason is money. There's no reason that people with a lot of money should be putting a lot of money into Asian people when Asian people aren't buying stuff with Asian faces on it. We're not marketable yet.
I spent my entire life wasting life. Take my advice.
Based in LA, California, Dan aka Dan just released his first album, Stuntman, this year. Even though music is not his full-time job, he will continue making albums. Coming from Hong Kong, China, Jody Chen aspired to be a full-time musician.
Actually, at the end of my senior year, I considered maybe selling my music or putting out an album. And so I actually met with some music people. And they told me that essentially if I wanted to become my own artist, I would have to write Chinese or Asian music because, well, I just don't look English or American.
As an alternative, Chen now decides to sell her music to other artists instead of singing the songs herself.
I would love to sing my own music, but practically I don't know if it'll be able to reach as many people.
Nathan Baucom, the associate chair and professor at the music department in Columbia College, Chicago, talks about why it's hard for Asian American pop musicians to break into the mainstream.
You know, and whether we're talking about genre categories, you know, like, well, this is pop, and this is rock, and this is hip hop, and this is jazz, and this is classical, and these things are all very clearly demarcated. Those kinds of categorizations extend to the ways that identities of musicians end up being marketed. You know, we have white music categories, we have black music categories, and these go very deep in American music history. The idea of white pop is an old one, is a category that has lasted for at least, you know, 70 years. Those racial categories are so deep and so hard, and they've been marketed so squarely over such a long period of time that softening of them is something that takes some work. And that seems to be work that the industry hasn't been willing to do.
That image of Asian Americans as they're perpetually foreigners, they can't really represent the United States. And so they're a curiosity rather than a kind of enduring you know, cultural icon.
Now the question is, how can Asian Americans become more represented in pop music?
Intentional organizing on the part of musicians, journalists, other members of the community, advocates, you know, a whole bunch of people who are able to pull together and advocate and market and give voice to a particular identity.
If Asian Americans become demographically large enough, right, where they're interested in and buying Asian American pop music, then that would change the industry.
Even though there are still barriers and stereotypes against Asian Americans in the pop music industry, some artists of Asian descent have broken into the mainstream. Jazz singer Norah Jones is half Indian, and pop singer Bruno Mars considers himself as Filipino. Malaysian singer-songwriters Yuna had 2 sold-out shows in Chicago this year. This is Jessica Penn reporting from Medill School of Journalism.